Join me now as the man we're going to see on Dana White's Contender Series as he looks to secure a UFC contract. Michael, man, as always, appreciate your time. It's been a little bit of time since we had a chance to speak here, but I was kind of going through your Instagram, and you've had, almost 12 weeks prepared for this fight?
Yeah, I found out about the fight about 13 weeks out. So, yeah. I mean, I was already training a little bit, getting my coach ready to fight. And, they kind of told me the name and everything. So it kind of made it easier to, get up and go train.
When I was going down your Instagram and looking at some of the things that you had posted, one of the things that stuck out to me in a post that you wrote said, trusting the process and enjoying the ride. I've heard a lot of athletes talk about that, of trusting the process of, hey, it's all going to come in due time. Was there like a turning point where you kind of had to have that mindset of like, man, I just got to trust this is all going to go the way I want it to?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you just never know in this game what's going to happen, to all the little bumps in the road that are going to come with it, and I think after, that first loss, it wasn't that, it's like, oh, I got to switch everything up. It's just more of, okay, let's just enjoy the ride. It was a tough loss. It was close, but we can't let that, get rid of, the point to where we're trying to get to. We can't let that derail us from getting to where we're destined to be, so it's just really just enjoying like our time now and just appreciating, what we're doing. And, I'm blessed. I say it all the time. I'm blessed to be able to do this every day and work out every day and train every day, man. It's a blessing.
Coming from the football world, the mindset's always of, okay, if you lose on a Saturday or Sunday, you take a day, you watch the film, you move on. In the fight game, that can be a little different, though. Obviously, it was a close fight, that you had 3 fights ago. Obviously, the judges do not give you the victory. I mean, do you have that similar type of mindset of like, okay, you know what? We fight on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I'm going to watch the film, and by Tuesday, it's on to the next.
100%. And we got, I know we're sensitive, we're fighters, but we're very sensitive, about how we look and, the result we didn't get. But at the end of the day, you get that result, you get that loss. It's, there's nothing you can do to change it. It's not like, you can, being angry or being sad is going to change the result of what's going to happen. All we can do is just keep moving forward to the next day and trying to get better. Just looking back at the past is just not, it's not healthy,
Is it one of those things of, did it cause you to maybe say, you know what, maybe I was not looking at something the way I should have? Do you try to look at the positive aspects of it, say, you know what, hey, this has ultimately made me a better fighter than I was back then?
100%, and people talk about it all the time. You find positives, in the losses. It's not a loss, it's a lesson, right? Is what, we say all the time, and it's very true and valid. There's a lot of positives that you can take away looking at the fight, like, oh, I did this very well, in the fight specifically. But then, you look at why you lost. Sometimes it's not just in the fight why you lost, it's maybe things that happen outside the fight. Maybe, you were missing something that wasn't there before, or maybe the weight cut wasn't as good as you thought, or you weren't doing, X things that you needed to do to get prepared before you get into the fight, So, I thought I fought well that fight, and I thought I did a lot of things right, and it's just a matter of tightening things up. And especially in this game, if you want to be in the next level, it's all the little things. The little things have to be the big things.
And you're coming off a stoppage victory in 68 seconds in your last match there in Fury FC. I mean, 68 seconds, obviously not a long time, a ton of positives takes out of that. But like as you think about that fight, is there something outside of the finishing sequence that really sticks out to you about that matchup?
I think just the whole fight in general, the build-up, it's a title fight. And, there was a lot of things that I was working for that fight that honestly showed in 68 seconds, and especially my boxing coach was so happy about just how I was throwing my punches, how my footwork looked, and just everything, So I know it was quick, but there was a lot of things that, that I trained a lot and very well. And just to be able to see it happen in practice and then translate to the fight almost, picture perfect, it was great. But like I said, just, knowing that it was a big implication, knowing there was a lot on the line, and, showing up in the moment in my hometown in front of all my people, it was it's another positive. It's, it's not easy. Some people fight in their home city, and, sometimes it's tough. A lot of pressure on them to perform and stuff.
I mean, yeah. I mean, how many times you hear fighters say, "I'd rather fight in my opponent's backyard than my own backyard"? Because obviously,
right,
there's a lot of things that go into that of selling tickets and all that situation. But you got Bogdan here. Of course, he was on the Contender Series last year. He lost to Tom Nolan. Before before your management and your coaches say, "Hey, Bogdan's the opponent they're pitching us here," were you familiar with him at all before getting the name?
No, I wasn't. I didn't. Their promotion over there is, you don't really see all the promotions all around. So I never really seen him, and I really didn't watch that Contender fight either. So I guess I just missed that fight that week. So I didn't really know much about him. But once they told me, I went watched his film, went on UFC Fight Pass, looked through his stuff, and got to get familiar with him.
Do you like when you started? You put in the first fight. And you're just watching. Is there something even to this day you remember, like whether maybe you sat there and said, "Hey, he switches this or does that"? Is there something that stuck out to you right early on when you started scouting him?
Yeah, I mean, he's big. That's the first thing I seen. I looked at him. I was like, "Oh, he's a big old dude," and we look at things as fighters, and there's, of course you see tendencies and stuff, but you kind of just see the kind of fighter he is. He likes to move forward. That's a big thing that I seen, that he's, very powerful guy. I don't really focus too much on, he's switching here, throwing here, doing that, because in the fight, he could do something completely different than, some of the things he did one fight. He could, strike one fight, and then the next fight become a wrestler. So you just don't know. I just kind of see, what he likes to do, kind of, certain things that he likes, certain ways he fights, and yeah, I mean, he's a good dude. He's tough and he's strong. He's good, on his back, and he's a good kickboxer. So it's a really good fight.
And of course, he's a guy that he's only been to the decision 3 times in his career. A lot of fights ending in the first or second round. Of course, just like yourself, he's won back-to-back fights here. And of course, we all know what's on the line here. I mean, do you try not to think about that? Do you try to just say, you know what, hey, yes, I know what the goal is here: get the win, get the contract. But in a way, do you say, I just can't think of that. I just have to worry about the task at hand?
I mean, it'd be impossible to say you're not thinking about it, right? It's almost good to think about it, to put it out there. I almost just say it out loud, let it sit in the air, and just what's at stake. You know what it is. This is what we came here for. But once you step into the cage, you're not thinking about all that. You're not worried about all that. We're worried about going in there competing, and I just want to fight to the best of my abilities and do my best. And that's all I can do is give 100% effort, and trust, like we talk about the process, trust in my training, trust in my coaches, and then trust in myself, and everything else is gonna work its way, like it does.
Have you changed anything up in this training camp in preparation for this one?
Man, every training camp for me, I feel like, is like a title fight. If we think about my last fight, it's always getting better, and we talk about every fight is more important than the last. Especially in the game, we talk about football. It's like, you lose one, next week, whatever, and it's almost like you lose 2 in a row. It's like, whatever, win the next one, right? In the fight game, it's like you win one, guess what? The next one's probably even more important than the last one. I hope you win that one. Now it's even more important, So, I feel like I've always been just training as if I'm fighting for a title. I'm always just training to be fighting the best. So, there's not really things that I need to like do more. I think it's more focused on what I do well, and keep harnessing that and keep pushing that and keep training super hard, and that kind of figures itself out.
As you think about, the keys for you walking away with the W on Tuesday, is there something in particular? Obviously, I know you're not giving away your game plan, but like as you think about, like, you sit there and say, like, hey, if I'm going to get the victory, this is one of the things I know I have to accomplish.
Yeah, I know that I need to fight my fight at the end of the day. I can't let him dictate where the fight goes. I can't let him dictate where I go. Can't let him push me back or push me left or right. I got to go in there and fight how I fight and be confident in myself. And I think the victory will find itself in those keys.
I mean, obviously you've been doing this fight game for a long time. Was that confidence already there, or did it take some time of getting in that, getting in that ring, that cage for that confidence to get where you're currently at?
Yeah, I think, I wouldn't say I'm like a cocky kid or anything like that, but just growing up, I just really worked extremely hard, and I just knew that as hard as I work, it was easy for everything else to fall into suit. When you're confident in your work and you're confident in the process, confidence kind of just eludes you. So I've worked hard as a kid since I was, 6, 7, 8 years old. I told myself, I want to be the best at whatever I was doing at that point. So I put in the work to be the best. And, when you kind of find yourself, doing better than, I guess the other kids, or you're kind of, the leader of the pack, you kind of just have to, bring the confidence out. You can't be a leader and kind of look worried, or, you're losing a game, who's everyone looking up to? They're looking up to you, so you can't beat the guy like, oh, we're going to lose this game, or, it's always got to be like, we got this, we're going to come back. And it's just always keeping that positive mindset, and the positivity it grows in confidence, and everything just kind of works as, in sequence.
Obviously this is a unique environment. You're fighting in, inside the UFC APEX. There's not a ton of fans that are in the building. Maybe there's 100 people in the building watching the fight happen. Right. And you're also fighting on a Tuesday afternoon. Is that kind of odd for you? Like, is that kind of a weird thing? Like, because typically you're thinking you're fighting on a Friday, Saturday, obviously right. Fury does some cards on a Sunday, but for you, like you said, you're going, wow, it's going to be a Tuesday. It's going to be like 1 o'clock Vegas time. And I got to get to the arena to get ready to fight.
I mean, we're fighters, man. Any place, anytime, anywhere. I train during the day. I fight, all day during the day. So, I mean, it's cool. No fans, a lot of fans. I mean, I feel like for me, it doesn't matter to me. The fight's the fight, and it's definitely a little different. I just gotta switch some things up. I gotta put my water load different days than I normally do, and definitely gonna be a little different, especially traveling. It's gonna be my first time traveling and fighting, so I'm excited to do that, and I'm just making sure that I'm as prepared as possible before I go out there.
In terms for, the fight fans that maybe this is going to be your introduction to them, you fighting on the Contender Series, what would you want those fans know about you?
Just know that, I'm going to be exciting. I'm going to go and I'm going to be going forward. I'm going to throw a lot, I'm going to be moving a lot. I'm going to be looking for the finish, and as a person, they're going to get a fun guy, someone that's always happy, very positive, and just looking to be better every day, man. That's kind of my goal in life and fighting, just trying to be a better version of myself every day. And I mean, that's all I could do is, work as hard as I possibly can and just be better than I was yesterday.
Have you sat back and watched the first 2 episodes of the season and kind of get that idea of knowing what they're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, you know what they're looking for. I kind of more or less look at, especially like the first week, the featherweights, I always kind of like to look at all the featherweights that fight, even in the UFC, kind of check on the featherweights that are fighting, and then just kind of get an idea of how it's ran, like I remember watching it, and, there's no introductions, no music. You just walk in there. They don't announce no one's name. Just go in there, boom. The other person goes in there real quick, boom, we're starting, let's go. Which is kind of cool. I like it, because sometimes you're in the cage or, you're waiting and then you're listening to the music. The music's like 3 minutes, 4 minutes long, and you're trying to get, Vaselined up, and then you get into the cage and then they announce their opponent, and then they announce you, and it's like 10 minutes before you even fight. You're like, dude, I'm just trying to fight. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of speeds up the process a little bit, which is nice. I know Dana's got stuff to do, so they got to get us in and out.
Michael, man, as always, I appreciate the time. Of course, good luck here on Tuesday. And of course, I love another thing for you on social media. I know you got a lot of sponsors that are helping you, supporting you for this one.
Yeah, man. Elevate hydrogen water. They've been a huge sponsor for me and just my recovery. And the Ritz in Houston, they're actually hosting my watch party. So if anyone's out there, Ace's Performance, it's my cousin. He owns his own, exhaust company, for cars, and he's like a street racer. And then my cousins also, 𝐉𝐨𝐢𝐼𝐸 taco stand in Houston. They my family owns a taco restaurant, so we're going there right after the fight, and we're gonna eat some tacos, eat some breakfast tacos, and it's gonna be good, man. It's gonna be a good night. Those are my guys that really took care of me this fight camp, and I appreciate them a lot, and I appreciate all the sponsors that not just this fight camp, but the past fight camp. There's so many to name that just been there with me since almost I was an amateur, man. Everyone that has been with me is family, either literally or, figuratively too. They've just been there since I was doing this since I was 17, man. So it's crazy. They always tell me it's crazy to see the progression from when I was 17 to, I'm 23 now. So yeah, man, it's been great. It's been fun. And like I said, I've just been enjoying the ride and just really just being in the moment